Okay, you know the script. You wake up in the morning next to him in bed, but it feels like you're in different houses. You're scrolling the phones, there's empty silence, and you think, I just can't be doing this much longer. Now, if that hits, stay with me because I'm going to show you 5 moves you can use tonight that will help you to begin rebuilding connection without any games, no begging, no making things worse. They really do work because they're small practical steps you can try right away to change the tone in your home and feel more in control of how you show up. And so here's the thing about midlife relationships. Okay, you may have pictured your current situation very differently. The kids are more independent, the work is steadier, and maybe, in fact, you have more time than you've ever had. But in this situation, it can feel lonelier than ever because you come home, he barely looks up from the TV, and you tell him about your day, and all you get is a, oh, yeah. Or you reach for a hug, and instead you just get a pat on the arm. It's not the words, it's the absence of connection. He'll disappear into his phone, zone out in front of the news, sometimes just retreat to the garage and turn over a night like the day's over and there's nothing left to say. And your oceans apart. You want a hand to hold and that whisper that says, well, we're still together. And when that doesn't happen, that ache turns into dread because you may start to think, is this it? Is this how it is supposed to end? So listen, I know how tempting it is to really explode, shut down, retreat, or just think, I've had enough and plan an exit. But you may think there's a grain of hope because there is another option, which is to make small, safe moves that shift the tone, which will help you feel calmer, clearer, and more intentional about how you show up, taking leadership in your relationship, and how real change can begin. Now, a very quick note here that if the relationship has got to the point where you feel unsafe, these tips may not be appropriate, so you need to reach out to a professional for immediate support. But if this already sounds like your situation and you feel you want to try some of these calm practical tools, tap subscribe because this whole video series is built for women like you in midlife who believe there may be a chance to reset things safely. So I'm going to explain now why these moves work. They're moves that I use in my practice, and it's shown me that when a marriage feels stuck, my clients feel that their nervous system is on edge. Now, you may be in that situation where you just brace for mood swings, shut down to avoid conflict, or react really suddenly and sharply from old wounds. And in that situation, it can be very likely that he's doing the same, which is retreating into distraction or being silent because he just can't find the words to express his feelings. So what I do is give you 5 moves that are designed to regulate that tension, both yours and his, that create very small sort of windows of safety so your connection can come back, even briefly. And when they do come back, those brief minutes of safety can give you a chance to reflect and a chance to practice a different dance. And over time, the small shifts will stack up into real change. So before I start giving you the tips, let's be clear about what you should not be trying to do in this situation, because knowing what to skip can prevent you from undoing your own progress. Before you make any move to shift in your relationship like this, let's go through a very short list, which firstly, never beg, plead, or deliver ultimatums. Those are escalation tactics that just build desperation and will make him more defensive. Don't relitigate every past grievance in one talk, because that's a flood. It's not going to fix anything. Try and stick to what's happening in the moment. Don't stage any big romantic gesture, all right? Because if that's not been a consistent theme, and by this stage of relationship it may not even feature, that can just feel manipulative and build distrust. If he's not doing what you want him to do, don't shame or accuse him publicly, and especially in front of the kids. And don't assume that silence means indifference, because very often it's avoidant behavior. It's caused by stress or confusion. So if any of those steps I've told you to avoid, they start to feel real to you, then just take a pause, all right? Because what I'm going to share with you next are the small little nudges that will create a safe space and will invite him into that space and come along on the journey. Now, it's not about fixing him or blaming yourself. They're merely interaction patterns. If he doesn't engage and sees that there's been a shift or responds with anger, step back and prioritize your safety. All right, we can't build anything. You can't rebuild trust without safety. So now we've cleared up all the things you shouldn't do. Let's look at what can happen when you start to shift things. Now, the first move, and just remember, these are things I actually teach my clients, so they do work. So write it down, take it, replay the video when you need to, go through these steps and see which one's going to resonate with you as the first start. And the first is what I call the pause line. It's an agreed phrase to use when things start to spiral. A good example of that is to say, well, this isn't helping. Let's just take a pause and come back to it. 5-10 minutes when I feel calm. If you won't agree to that and it's in a really difficult, heated moment, then just really speak your truth. So I'm feeling overwhelmed. I need to just take 10 minutes to calm down and then come back to this so I can explain to you how this is landing with me. Then I can understand what you're upset about. And that matters because midlife fights often follow a script where one party raises a voice, the other one matches it. Someone leaves, feelings get hurt. The beauty of the pause line is it interrupts that script and it signals safety. It says, look, we're not walking away. We're just going to come back calmer and be able to communicate. And it can be an unusual thing to introduce. And it may, say, make him feel more suspicious. So you should introduce it by really picking a quieter moment and saying, listen, I've been thinking about the difficulties we've been having. And if we start to argue, can we just try a pause phrase and just to take time before, we continue the discussion. Now, the response to that may laugh at it or shrug it off and say, that's ridiculous. Do you just want to walk away? Still use it yourself because, the mirroring, the modeling of that behavior of calm often lowers the intensity which you may feel. So move 1, you've created breathing room in your conflict, and now you can change how you open conversations. And that leads into move 2, which is a gentle start. Okay, that's opening a conversation softly instead of launching into a whole list and litany of complaints. Instead of saying we need to talk about the bills and your mother, try, listen, I know you've had a long day. There's something really important. It's just one thing I'd like to figure out together with you. When's a good time? Now, this works particularly well because aggressive openings usually spike defensiveness. And a gentler start lowers the guard and invites them to stay engaged. Here you can it could be something just to, as I say, something as simple as that. If you have a moment, there's just something I'd love to get your thoughts on or help thinking through. Always choose a time when he's not chronically distracted. It could be after a walk or after a dinner or just when you're feeling more calm. Don't introduce it when things are heightened. It's a very useful tool, and if you'd like to learn more about scripts, then go and get the free Marriage Reset Roadmap, which is a quick guide with the scripts there so you can actually practice them. And if you practice these things, they become a reflex. And so when those words start softening, the next layer will be the appreciation. This is what you should use as a really good antidote to any resentment that may build in the relationship. And it's as simple as a gratitude check-in, just saying one small thing that you appreciate about him or what he does each day. Try and make it more emotional if you can, like, oh, I saw you really dealt with your daughter really well then, because she was being difficult. If that sounds unnatural to you, then do it simply like, oh, thanks for fixing the door hinge in the kitchen. Start small. If it's awkward, if you can go further, try and be more sort of say, well, look, I really noticed you're changing how you're speaking to me. You can go for it. Gratitude retrains your focus towards what's working, and it kind of makes the atmosphere less charged. And over time, that will lower defensiveness and increase reciprocity. You may well be suspicious of this if it's not something you're used to doing, but keep going. There's small, just keep the acknowledgements going. And that will bring you more warmth into any situation. So you're now using gratitude as a very powerful weapon to rebuild and to protect against the problems that are growing. So you can bring in something quieter but equally powerful, which is just what I call touch resets. They're safe and they're just a signal connection, not a sudden advance or major grab, but a gentle gesture, resting your hand on his arm, brushing his shoulder, or even just saying, look, can I just hold your hand? Because touch, it really sends out a very strong signal to the nervous system, way faster than words. Words which sometimes you just can't find. Now, Again, if you're not sort of PDA people, that doesn't matter. Do it more privately at home. And you may well think that's unusual, but if it does, if it's starting to work, keep it light, brief, and consistent. Create touch rituals, okay, to remind you that you're still companions. And then finally, the bigger plan, which I call the future seed. That's where you kind of introduce a vision for your future. It could be very small. It could be, a small weekend project. It could be a trip to the beach. It could be, okay, well, let's look at our finances and see how we can get that dream home. Because the future is also the end of the roadmap. Don't make the future look like today. If you name a shared future, it nudges you away from just being sort of roommates or business partners in your family, back to partners who are building a story together. So those 5 steps may seem an awful lot. Keep them small. And I'm going to tell you now how I think you should try and make these moves stick and how to keep them alive once you're started. Now, let me just say how you can troubleshoot if you're struggling to try and introduce these changes. They're not familiar to you. Don't try and be perfect. Okay, do the one little move daily rather than one big dramatic scene. And very importantly, try and model the behavior that you want. And like I said before, if you won't agree to use the pause line, use it yourself and come back as promised. Little micro scripts I mentioned, of the language you can use, they become a reflex, and that really drives them home more kindly and naturally. All right, these tools are all there to build safety, and if you hit any resistance, just slow it down, change the narrative, and just say, "Look, I can see it seems like a bad time for you. When would be better for you?" Now you're saying, you may feel to yourself, "Well, why is it all on me?" Well, because the objective is not the only win you can get, really, is either to improve your relationship, and then you can actually make a decision about where you want it to go. Because if it withdraws repeatedly, despite the steady efforts, it may be time for you to get professional support. Like a coach who works with midlife couples. I can recommend a good one. So neutral voice, what coaches like me can do, can translate the patterns into new behavior. So let's bring this home, okay? You're not taking responsibility for his feelings or doing all the emotional labor. It's shifting the patterns so both of you have a chance to really assess how you should show up. It may seem unjust, but again, the win is about finding out what you want for you and how you can help him to be that person once again. Because very often it's circumstances outside your relationship that have started to cause these issues. So what I recommend to you is just try one small move, be that the pause line, a gentle start, the gratitude check-in, the touch reset, or the big future seed. Just follow your gut about which one feels most doable. Drop your choice in the comments. Sharing it if you share it, you may be more likely to follow through, and that reflection might help someone else. I will read those comments, and any help you want, I'm here. And don't forget, there is a free marriage reset roadmap in the description. It includes scripts which actually reflect what I've been speaking about in this video, a 1-week practice plan, and prompts to keep you consistent without feeling that you're fake or that there's some manipulation going on. And the other extreme, and an extreme example of something that will really work for you, is to take advantage of a free clarity call with me. Again, details are in the description below. In any case, if this video spoke to you, don't forget to subscribe for the rest of the series, because it's especially for midlife women like you. And I'll go deeper into what to do when he's emotionally unavailable and how to get that communication flowing with practices, strategies that really work. That change can start tonight with one small, safe move, and I want to know which one you're going to try. Thanks so much for watching this, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Give me a shout out in the comments below, and I will get back to you. I'll see you in the next one.